The sound of
Yes,
ripping
I have
silk
her right
silenced
here.
200 people.
Ensure the
Carrie
transfer is
Whitmore stood
complete
frozen,
immediately. I want
7 months
all
pregnant,
assets frozen by
her
midnight.
designer gown torn from her body, her bare back exposed to every camera in the
Oh my
room.
God, look
The
at
woman
that
behind her laughed.
dress!
"Everyone should see who
She's
Derek really
pregnant! How
loves," his mistress announced.
awful!
"I'm carrying
I
his baby
cannot
too.
believe this is
The real one."
happening.
Carrie searched for her husband, found him at the bar. He didn't move, didn't speak, didn't defend her. He just walked out. But here's what the mistress didn't know. Here's what nobody told her before she decided to humiliate a pregnant
Sign the
woman
papers,
at the
Derek.
most
It's over.
prestigious
I'm
charity
leaving
gala of
now.
the year. Carrie's father was watching, and he wasn't just any father. He was a federal judge with 30 years on the bench. What happened next destroyed careers, exposed a $900,000 fraud, and sent someone to prison. This is the story of betrayal, justice, and one woman who refused to break. Stay until the end, trust me. You won't see the final twist coming. The champagne glass slipped from Carrie's fingers the moment she felt the fabric tear. The crystal shattered against the marble floor. 1,000 tiny pieces scattered in every direction. The golden liquid splashed across her silver heels. But Carrie didn't notice any of that. All she could feel was the cool air hitting her bare back, the expensive emerald silk she had spent 3 weeks searching for, the dress that had cost more than her first car, the gown that made her feel beautiful despite being 7 months pregnant. Gone, destroyed, ripped away by hands she couldn't see. The string quartet stopped mid-note. The violinist's bow hovered in the air. The cellist's fingers froze on the strings. 200 voices fell silent at once. The kind of silence that happens when something terrible unfolds in public. When everyone becomes a witness, whether they want to be or not. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead. Thousands of tiny lights casting fractured rainbows across the grand ballroom of the Hartwell Hotel. The annual Children's Hospital Foundation Gala. The most prestigious charity event of the year. The one Carrie Whitmore had helped organize for 3 months. The one she had been looking forward to since January. She turned slowly. Her hands moved instinctively to cover her pregnant belly. 7 months along, her daughter kicking against her ribs. Sensing something was wrong even before Carrie understood what was happening. Tiffany Lawson stood behind her. Carrie recognized her immediately. The blonde hair, perfectly curled, falling in waves past her shoulders. The red lipstick, bold, aggressive. The kind of red that demanded attention. The black dress that clung to her slim figure. Designer. Expensive. The dress of a woman who wanted everyone to look at her. In her manicured fingers, she held a torn piece of emerald silk, holding it like a trophy, like proof of victory. "You think you can keep pretending?" Tiffany's voice cut through the silence like a blade. Loud enough for everyone to hear, designed to be heard. Everyone should see who Derek really loves. Carrie's mind couldn't process the words. This woman, Derek's office manager, the one who had started 3 years ago, the one who always smiled a little too long at company parties, the one who brought homemade cookies to the office every Friday, the one Derek said was just an employee. Nothing more, nothing to worry about. What are you doing?" Carrie's voice came out as a whisper. Barely audible, swallowed by the vast space of the ballroom, Tiffany laughed. The sound echoed off the vaulted ceilings, bounced against the crystal chandeliers, traveled across the marble floor to reach every single one of the 200 guests who stood frozen in their expensive clothes. Watching, waiting, unable to look away. "What am I doing?" Tiffany stepped closer. Her perfume was overwhelming. Jasmine and vanilla, sweet and cloying. The kind of scent that lingered long after she was gone. "I'm claiming what's mine. Derek, your house, your life, your future, all of it. It was never really yours anyway." Gasps rippled through the crowd, a collective intake of breath. Carrie saw faces she recognized. Margaret Chen from the hospital board, the Hendersons who had hired her for their beach house renovation, Pastor Williams from the church where she and Derek had gotten married, Dr. Patterson who had been monitoring her pregnancy, all watching her humiliation unfold in real time. Carrie searched the crowd for Derek, her husband, the man she had married 7 years ago, the man who had promised to love her in sickness and in health, The man who had held her hand through the miscarriage 3 years ago. The man who had cried with her when they found out she was pregnant again. She found him by the bar, 30 feet away, a glass of whiskey in his hand. His tuxedo perfectly pressed, his dark hair styled the way she liked it, his jaw tight, his eyes wide. He wasn't moving toward her. He wasn't defending her. He was just standing there, frozen, like everyone else, except he wasn't a bystander. He was her husband. He was supposed to protect her. He was supposed to be on her side. Their eyes met across the ballroom. Derek looked away. The betrayal hit harder than the torn dress, harder than the public humiliation. Her own husband, watching his mistress attack her, doing nothing, saying nothing, looking away like she was a stranger he didn't want to get involved with. "Do you know who I am?" Tiffany continued, her voice rising now, playing to the audience, enjoying every moment of this spectacle she had created. "I'm carrying his baby too, the real one, not whatever that is." She gestured dismissively at Carrie's belly, at the daughter growing inside her, at the life she had been so excited to bring into the world. The words hit like a physical blow. Carrie staggered backward. Her heel caught on the hem of her ruined dress. She would have fallen, would have collapsed onto the cold marble floor, would have added that humiliation to all the others. But someone caught her arm, her mother, Patricia Ashford, 59 years old and still sharp as a blade, 25 years as a prosecutor before retiring. A woman who had faced down murderers and never flinched, who had stood in front of juries and convinced them to see the truth. Patricia wrapped her silk shawl around Carrie's exposed shoulders, her movements quick, efficient, practiced, like she had prepared for this moment. "Don't give her the satisfaction," Patricia whispered, her voice steady, calm, the voice of a woman who knew how to handle crisis. "Stand tall. Don't let her see you break." But Carrie couldn't stand tall. She could barely stand at all. The baby kicked hard against her ribs. Once, twice, 3 times. Her daughter, sensing the stress hormones flooding her mother's bloodstream, sensing that something was terribly wrong. 7 months pregnant, 7 years married, and her husband was standing 20 feet away, doing nothing while his mistress destroyed her in front of everyone they knew, everyone they worked with, everyone who mattered in their carefully constructed social world. "Security, now!" The voice boomed across the ballroom, deep, commanding, resonant, the kind of voice that made people stop what they were doing and pay attention, the kind of voice that filled courtrooms and silenced arguments. Judge Raymond Ashford crossed the marble floor in long, deliberate strides, 62 years old, silver hair swept back from a distinguished face, the bearing of a man who had spent 30 years presiding over federal cases, a man who had sent criminals to prison for decades, a man who had never let emotion cloud his judgment. Until now. Carrie's father stopped 3 feet away from Tiffany Lawson. His eyes were ice, pure, frozen rage contained behind decades of practiced control. Carrie had seen that look before, in the courtroom, when he was about to deliver a verdict that would change someone's life forever. Tiffany turned to face him. She was still smiling, still confident, riding the high of her public triumph. "Oh, is Daddy here to save you?" She laughed again. How pathetic. A grown woman hiding behind her father. Can't even fight your own battles. Raymond's expression didn't change. His voice remained calm, measured, controlled. "Young lady, you just committed felony assault on a pregnant woman in front of 200 witnesses, including 3 prosecutors, a district attorney, and a sitting federal judge." Tiffany's smile flickered, the first crack in her confidence. "Assault? I barely touched her. It's just a dress. She can buy another one." Battery causing potential harm to a fetus. Raymond's voice never rose above conversational level. It didn't need to. The words carried their own weight. Public humiliation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, criminal mischief, possible hate crime enhancement depending on how the prosecutor wants to charge it. "Hate crime?" Tiffany's voice pitched higher. "That's ridiculous. I'm not a criminal. I'm just telling the truth. Everyone deserves to know who Derek really loves." Raymond reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out his phone, his movements deliberate, unhurried, the movements of a man who had all the time in the world. "This is Judge Raymond Ashford. I need officers at the Grand Ballroom of the Hartwell Hotel." "Yes." "The charity gala." "Immediately. We have an assault suspect who needs to be detained." Tiffany's face went pale, the color draining from her cheeks, her red lipstick suddenly garish against her white skin. "Wait." Her voice trembled now. "Judge? You're actually a judge?" "Federal court. 30 years on the bench. 18 of those as a senior judge." Raymond stepped closer, close enough that Tiffany had to look up at him. "That woman you just attacked is my daughter. The baby you just endangered is my grandchild. And the 200 people in this room all witnessed exactly what you did." The silence stretched, every person in the ballroom holding their breath. The clock on the wall ticked, ticked, ticked. The only sound in a room that had been full of music and laughter just minutes before. "You can't do anything to me." But Tiffany's voice had lost its edge, the confidence evaporating like morning mist. "You're her father. You're biased. You can't be involved in the case." "I won't be involved in the case." Raymond's smile was cold. "But I know everyone who will be, and they all just watched what you did. They watched you attack a pregnant woman at a charity event. They watched you assault the daughter of a federal judge. They watched you confess to an affair with her husband, in front of witnesses, on camera." He pointed to the corner of the ballroom, a security camera, red light blinking. "Everything you did tonight is recorded. Everything you said is on tape. And everyone in this room is a potential witness." Tiffany made a sound, something between a gasp and a whimper. The reality finally setting in. This wasn't going to end with a dramatic scene and a victory lap. This wasn't going to end with a Derek running to her side and choosing her over his wife. This was going to end with handcuffs. "Derek," her voice cracked. She turned toward the bar, toward the man she had done all this for. "Derek, tell them about us. Tell them I'm not crazy. Tell them you love me." Every head in the room swiveled toward Derek Whitmore, 36 years old, dark hair, athletic build, the charming smile that had won Carrie's heart 8 years ago at that gallery opening. The man she had built a life with. The man she had trusted with everything. Derek set down his whiskey glass, straightened his tie, adjusted his cufflinks, and walked toward the exit without saying a word. He didn't look at Tiffany. He didn't look at Carrie. He didn't look at anyone. He just walked. Steady steps, measured pace, like he was leaving a business meeting that had run too long. The heavy doors swung shut behind him. The sound echoed through the ballroom like a gunshot. Tiffany screamed, actually screamed, a sound of pure rage and despair. "Derek, you can't just leave me here. Derek, we had a plan. You promised." But he was already gone. The doors remained closed. No one went after him. 2 security guards appeared. They flanked Tiffany, large men in dark suits, professional, detached. "Ma'am, you need to come with us." "Don't touch me." Tiffany tried to pull away, but the fight had drained out of her. Her shoulders slumped. Her hands trembled. "This isn't fair. This isn't how it was supposed to go." She looked at Carrie one last time, her eyes full of something that might have been hatred, or might have been despair. "He was going to leave you," she said. "He was going to choose me. We were going to start a new life together. You weren't supposed to win." Carrie said nothing. What was there to say? They led Tiffany away, her heels clicking against the marble, her protest growing fainter as she disappeared through a side door. Carrie's hand hovered over her phone in her clutch. She wanted to call Derek, her husband, the man who had just abandoned her in the most public way possible. Her thumb found his name in her contacts. The heart emoji she had put next to it years ago. Lock, unlock, lock, unlock, lock. She couldn't press the button. Couldn't make herself reach out to the man who had just walked away without a single word. An ambulance arrived 11 minutes later, standard procedure for any incident involving a pregnant woman. The paramedics were gentle, professional. They helped Carrie onto a stretcher even though she insisted she could walk. "Just a precaution, ma'am," the younger paramedic said. A woman in her 30s with kind eyes. "We need to make sure the baby's okay. Any stress during pregnancy can cause complications." The baby, her daughter, the one she had been so excited to meet, the one she had spent months preparing for, decorating the nursery in pale yellow, buying tiny clothes with duck patterns, planning a future that suddenly felt like a lie. Patricia climbed into the ambulance with her, held her hand, didn't say anything. Sometimes silence was louder than words. Raymond stayed behind. Someone had to deal with the police. Someone had to manage the chaos. Someone had to answer questions and give statements and be strong when his daughter couldn't be. As the ambulance pulled away from the hotel, Carrie stared at the ceiling. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The sirens wailed. Her baby kicked. Again and again. Restless, distressed. She thought about Derek's face, the way he looked away, the way he walked out without a single word. 7 years of marriage, thousands of shared meals, hundreds of whispered promises in the dark, the house they had built together, the life they had planned. None of it had been real. The champagne she had been drinking was non-alcoholic. She had been so careful throughout the pregnancy. No caffeine, no soft cheese, no sushi, no deli meat, no hot tubs, no stress. She had done everything right, and he had been planning to leave her the entire time. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and artificial flowers. Someone had left a vase of carnations on the windowsill. Pink and white, cheerful colors that felt like mockery against the institutional gray walls and sterile white sheets. Carrie had been in this hospital before. 3 years ago, different floor, different room, same cold feeling of uncertainty and fear. That time she had left empty-handed. The baby she had been carrying for 12 weeks suddenly gone. Without warning, without explanation. Just gone. This time had to be different. This time her daughter had to survive. Dr. Susan Harper entered the room with a portable ultrasound machine. She was a woman in her early 40s, short brown hair, warm eyes behind wire-frame glasses. She had been Carrie's obstetrician since the beginning of this pregnancy. Through the anxiety, the fear, the constant worry that history would repeat itself. "Let's take a look," Dr. Harper said, her voice calm, reassuring, the voice of someone who delivered news both good and bad on a daily basis. "Try to relax if you can. Stress hormones can affect the readings." Relax, as if that were possible. Dr. Harper spread the cold gel across Carrie's belly, pressed the ultrasound wand against her skin. The machine hummed to life. The screen flickered with gray and white shadows. And then Carrie saw her. Her daughter, floating in the darkness, her tiny heart beating. A flutter of life on the monitor, 142 beats per minute, strong, steady, unaware of the chaos outside her safe, warm world. "There she is," Dr. Harper said softly, a smile crossing her face. "Heartbeat is perfect, 142 beat BPM, exactly where we want it. She's moving well, fluid levels look good, placenta is healthy." Carrie watched her daughter on the screen, watched her kick, watched her turn, watched her suck her thumb. "She's okay? She's perfect." Dr. Harper wiped the gel from Carrie's belly, helped her adjust her hospital gown. "You might have some elevated cortisol levels from the stress. That's normal given what happened. We'll monitor you overnight to be safe. But physically, you and the baby are both fine. Physically fine, as if that were the only kind of damage that mattered." Patricia stood by the window, her arms crossed, her jaw tight. She hadn't sat down since they arrived. Couldn't sit down. Too much energy, too much anger. 25 years as a prosecutor had taught her to channel her emotions, to stay calm in crisis, to think strategically even when she wanted to scream. But this was different. This was her daughter, her grandchild, her family. Derek didn't come. Carrie stared at the ceiling. The tiles were water-stained. Someone had tried to cover it with paint. The discoloration still showed through. He watched her do it. He didn't move. He just stood there, like I was a stranger. Patricia said nothing. What could she say? Her son-in-law had revealed himself to be exactly the kind of man she had always suspected he was. The charming facade finally cracked, the monster underneath finally visible. "I defended him," Carrie continued, her voice hollow, distant, like she was talking about someone else's life. "Every time you or Dad made a comment, Every time Megan raised her eyebrows, I defended him. I said you didn't understand him. I said he was different when we were alone. Carrie, was I always this stupid? Did everyone see it except me? You weren't stupid. Patricia finally moved, crossed the room, sat on the edge of the bed, took her daughter's hand. You were in love. Love makes us blind to things we don't want to see. It's not a flaw, it's human. I feel like I've been living in a dream, and now I'm awake, and everything is uglier than I thought. The door opened. Raymond entered with a folder under his arm. His face was composed, controlled, the judge's mask firmly in place. But Carrie could see the tension in his shoulders, the way he held himself when he was fighting to contain his anger. I've already called Bradley, he said. Bradley Winters, the family attorney. The man who had handled everything from estate planning to Patricia's retirement contracts. A man who knew how to win. We're pressing charges, all of them. Assault causing bodily harm, public humiliation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, criminal mischief, whatever else Bradley can make stick. What about Derek? Patricia asked. The question they were all thinking. The question no one wanted to answer. Raymond's jaw tightened. A muscle twitched in his cheek. That's a separate matter. For now, we focus on the criminal case against the woman. The assault is clear-cut. 200 witnesses, video evidence. She won't be able to claim self-defense or provocation. This is an easy conviction. Her name is Tiffany. Carrie's voice was flat, empty. Tiffany Lawson. She's been Derek's office manager for 3 years. She came to our anniversary parties, our holiday dinners. She brought cookies to the office every Friday. She asked about the baby. The silence that followed was heavy, thick, the weight of understanding settling over all of them. 3 years. Tiffany had been in their lives for 3 years, smiling at Carrie, complimenting her designs, asking about the nursery colors, all while sleeping with her husband, all while planning to take everything she had. The door burst open again. Megan Holloway rushed in, blonde hair falling from its careful updo, mascara streaked down her cheeks, her designer dress wrinkled, her composure completely gone. Megan had been Carrie's best friend since college. Freshman year, dorm mates assigned by random chance, study partners, confidants, bridesmaids at each other's weddings, godmother to each other's future children. Oh my God. Megan crossed the room in 3 steps, wrapped Carrie in a hug that was almost too tight, her body shaking, her tears soaking into Carrie's hospital gown. I came as soon as I heard. I was parking the car when it happened. I missed the whole thing. By the time I got inside, the ambulance was already there. I'm fine, Carrie's voice was muffled against Megan's shoulder. The baby's fine. You're not fine. None of this is fine. Megan pulled back. Her eyes red, guilt written across her face like a confession waiting to be made. Carrie, I have to tell you something. I should have told you months ago, years ago. I'm so sorry. Carrie felt her stomach drop. More secrets, more lies, more people who knew things she didn't. What? I knew. The words came out in a rush, like Megan had been holding them back for too long. God, Carrie, I knew something was wrong. 6 months ago at your anniversary party, the one at your house, with the fairy lights in the backyard. Carrie remembered, their 6th anniversary. Derek had surprised her with a catered dinner, 50 of their closest friends, live music, dancing under the stars. I saw them, Megan continued. Derek and Tiffany, in the kitchen. They didn't know I was there. I came in to get more ice, and they were standing by the refrigerator. Close, too close. He had his hand on her arm. She was laughing at something he said, looking at him the way she looked at him tonight. Carrie closed her eyes, the memory surfacing unbidden. Derek at the party, disappearing for 15 minutes, coming back with flushed cheeks, saying he had taken a work call, apologizing for missing the toast. You should have told me. I know. Megan was crying again, tears cutting tracks through her ruined makeup. I kept telling myself I was imagining things, that Derek wouldn't do that to you, that you were happy, that I must have misread the situation. I didn't want to be the person who destroyed your marriage over something I might have gotten wrong. How long? Carrie's voice was barely audible. How long has it been going on? I don't know exactly, but after the anniversary party, I started paying attention. Little things, the way he looked at his phone, the late nights at the office, the business trips that always seemed to last an extra day. I should have said something. I should have trusted my instincts. I'm so sorry. Carrie reached for her hand, squeezed it. The anger would come later. Right now, she didn't have the energy. You're here now. That's what matters. The door opened a third time. Derek Whitmore stood in the doorway. He was still in his tuxedo, still perfectly pressed, not a hair out of place. In his hand, he held a bouquet of white roses, her favorite flower, the ones he had given her on their first date, on their wedding day, on every anniversary since. His face was arranged in an expression of concern, the worried husband, the caring partner, a performance for anyone who might be watching. Baby, I'm so sorry. He stepped into the room, his voice pitched perfectly, apologetic, sincere, the voice of a man who had done nothing wrong. I came as fast as I could. Traffic was terrible. Construction on Fifth Street. Are you okay? Is the baby okay? Carrie stared at him. This man she had married. This man she had built a life with. This man who had stood frozen while his mistress attacked her in front of 200 people. This man who had walked away without a word. Don't. The word came from Raymond. Her father stepped forward, his body blocking Derek's path, his presence filling the room. You don't speak to her. You don't look at her. You don't come anywhere near her. Get out of this hospital before I forget that I'm an officer of the court. Derek's mask slipped, just for a moment, a flash of something ugly beneath the charming surface. Annoyance. Contempt. The face of a man who wasn't used to being told no. Raymond, this is between me and my wife. It's a private matter. I understand you're upset, but your wife? Patricia's voice was ice, pure, frozen fury. The woman you just let your mistress assault at a charity gala? The mother of your child? The woman you abandoned in front of everyone you know? That wife? It's not what it looks like. Derek spread his hands, the gesture of a reasonable man dealing with unreasonable people. Tiffany is unstable. She's been obsessed with me for months. I've been trying to distance myself from her, to end things professionally. This is her acting out, her revenge for being rejected. Lies. Every word was a lie. Carrie could see it now, the way his eyes shifted slightly to the left, the way his voice pitched just a fraction higher, the way his fingers twitched against the flower stems, the tell she had been too trusting to notice before. Get out. His words came from somewhere deep inside Carrie, somewhere she didn't know existed, a core of steel hidden beneath years of accommodation and compromise. Get out and don't come back. Derek's face hardened, the mask falling away completely now. Carrie, be reasonable. We need to talk about this, as a family, as adults. You can't make decisions in this state. You're emotional, hormonal. You need time to calm down and think clearly. I have never been more clear in my life. She sat up straighter, despite the hospital gown, despite the IV in her arm, despite everything. I see you now, for the first time. I see exactly who you are. You're overreacting. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You always do this. You always blow things out of proportion. Remember the miscarriage, how you fell apart, how I had to take care of everything while you couldn't get out of bed? The cruelty of it stole her breath, using her grief as a weapon, eating her darkest moments against her. The man she had trusted with her vulnerability, turning it into ammunition. Patricia stood, her voice quiet, deadly. Derek, if you're not gone in 30 seconds, I will personally call security. Then I will file a restraining order first thing tomorrow morning. Then I will contact every professional organization you belong to and every client you've ever had, and I will tell them exactly what kind of man you are. Derek looked at Carrie, his eyes searching for something. Weakness, maybe. The old version of her who would have forgiven anything, who would have believed his excuses, who would have blamed herself for driving him away. That woman was gone. You'll regret this, Derek said quietly. When you calm down, you'll realize you're making a mistake. and I might not be willing to take you back." He turned and walked out. The flowers dropped on the floor. White petals scattered across the linoleum, beautiful and broken. No one picked them up. Megan sat on the edge of the bed, took Carrie's hand. "What do you need? Anything, name it." Carrie stared at the door Derek had just walked through, the door that separated her past from her future, the door that marked the end of everything she thought she knew. "I'm not crazy." Her voice was stronger now, steadier. "I knew something was wrong for months, maybe years. I knew it. I just didn't want to believe it." Patricia crossed the room, sat on Carrie's other side. 3 generations of women, 3 different kinds of strength. "You're not crazy," Patricia said, "and you're not alone. Whatever comes next, we face it together, as a family, a real family." The baby kicked, hard, strong, a reminder that no matter what had happened tonight, there was still something worth fighting for, still a future worth building, still a reason to survive. Carrie placed her hand on her belly, felt her daughter move beneath her palm. "Together," she repeated. "Okay? Together." 3 days passed before Carrie felt strong enough to start digging. She was staying at her parents' house now, her childhood bedroom, the walls still painted the same soft blue she had chosen when she was 16, the bookshelf still holding novels she hadn't touched in a decade, her old desk where she had done homework and dreamed of becoming a famous designer. Everything was familiar. Nothing felt safe. The hospital had discharged her the morning after the gala. Baby healthy, mother stable. No reason to keep her. She had packed her bag and left without asking about Derek, without calling him, without wondering where he had spent the night. She already knew where he had spent the night. Patricia and Raymond had converted the guest room into a temporary nursery. The crib from the registry, the rocking chair Carrie had picked out months ago, the pale yellow curtains that matched the ones in the house she would never return to. They didn't ask about her plans, didn't pressure her to make decisions, just created space, just provided support, just waited for her to be ready. On the 3rd day, she was ready. Carrie sat on her childhood bed with her laptop. Derek's email pulled up on the screen. The password was simple, their wedding anniversary, the same one he used for everything. She had known it for years, never used it, never had a reason to, until now. The inbox loaded slowly. Thousands of messages, business communications, spam. Newsletters from stores they had shopped at together. Confirmations for reservations they had made. The digital detritus of a shared life. And then she found the folder. It was labeled TL, hidden among the work files, between tax returns and travel. An innocent abbreviation that could mean anything. Tiffany Lawson. Carrie's hand trembled as she clicked. The first email was dated 18 months ago, March 15th, 2 weeks before their 5th anniversary, before the trip to Hawaii he had planned, before the pregnancy, before she had started to believe things might actually be getting better. "Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. When can we do it again? I'm counting the minutes. Love, T." Carrie read the words 3 times, 4 times, 5, 18 months. The affair had been going on for 18 months, not 6 months like Megan suspected, not a year like she might have hoped. 18 months, 540 days, 12,960 hours. She kept scrolling, email after email, hundreds of them. Love letters disguised as work correspondence, plans for meetings that weren't on any calendar, hotel reservations in cities where Derek claimed to have business trips, restaurant bookings for places Carrie had never been. "I miss you so much when you're home with her. I know you have to play the part, but it's so hard waiting." "Soon," you said. "Soon we'll be together for real. I believe you. I'll wait as long as it takes." Playing the part, that's what she had been, a role Derek performed. The dutiful husband, the expectant father, all while planning his escape with another woman. Carrie kept scrolling, deeper into the folder, deeper into the lies. And then she found the bank statements. An account she had never seen before, Cayman Islands, numbered, protected by layers of international banking secrecy, a balance of $900,000. Their retirement fund had been $300,000 last time she checked. Their savings account had another $100,000. The house was worth $800,000, but they still owed $400 on the mortgage. Where had $900,000 come from? She opened the attached documents, spreadsheets, transfer records, a paper trail that told a story she didn't want to understand. Small amounts, over 2 years, 10,000 here, 20,000 there. Transferred from accounts she recognized to accounts she didn't. Routed through shell companies with names like Horizon Consulting and Sunset Ventures. Their money, her money, the retirement fund they had built together, the savings she had contributed to every month for 7 years. All of it siphoned away. Stolen in increments too small to notice. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the email chain from 6 months ago. A conversation between Derek and Tiffany about their exit strategy. And the shell company is set up. Everything's in both our names now. When we're ready, we liquidate and disappear. Somewhere warm, somewhere without extradition treaties. Start fresh. What about Caroline? She'll notice eventually. She'll ask questions. She'll be fine. She comes from money. Her parents will take care of her. Besides, by the time the lawyers figure out where everything went, we'll be long gone. She won't be able to find us. She won't be able to touch us. And the baby? Not my problem anymore. She can raise it herself. I never wanted kids anyway. You know that. It was always her idea, her dream. I just went along with it to keep her happy. Carrie read the exchange 3 times, the words blurring through her tears. Not my problem anymore. I never wanted kids anyway. The baby she was carrying, their daughter, the child she had dreamed of for years, the miracle pregnancy after the miscarriage that had broken her heart. Derek didn't want her. Had never wanted her. Had only gone along with it to maintain his cover while he planned his escape. Carrie closed the laptop, set it aside carefully, walked to the window on legs that didn't feel like her own. The backyard stretched out below, the lawn her father mowed every Saturday, the garden her mother tended with religious devotion, the swing set that had been there since she was 5 years old, rusty now, unused for decades, but still standing, still there. Her daughter would play on that swing set someday, would run through that garden, would grow up in a world where her father had tried to abandon her before she was even born. But she would grow up loved, protected, safe. Carrie wouldn't let Derek take that from her too. The phone rang. She answered without looking at the caller ID. Carrie, it's Bradley. I've reviewed the documents you sent. The emails, the bank statements, all of it. We need to talk. How bad is it? A pause. The kind of pause that said everything words couldn't express. The house is mortgaged to the hilt. He took out a second mortgage last year, didn't tell you. The retirement accounts have been systematically drained for 2 years. The offshore accounts are in both their names. Derek and Tiffany, listed as business partners in a shell company registered in Delaware. Carrie sat down on the window seat. The glass was cold against her back. The baby kicked, restless, sensing her distress. He was going to leave me with nothing? That appears to have been the plan, yes. The shell company's structure is sophisticated, designed specifically to hide assets during divorce proceedings. Everything would have been gone before you even knew to look for it. I designed our home. The words came out slowly, each one heavy with meaning, with loss, with grief for a life that had never been real. I renovated every room. I built my business around his schedule. I turned down the Manhattan job so we could stay here. Because he said he needed me. Because he said his work was here. Because he said it wouldn't be fair to make him choose between me and his career. I know. I gave up everything for him, my dreams, my ambitions, my independence, everything. And it was all a lie. I know. Bradley's voice was gentle. The voice of a man who had seen this before, who had helped other women put their lives back together after similar betrayals. But we have options now. The fraud is well documented. The emails establish intent. Combined with the assault charges against Tiffany, we can build a strong case. Criminal fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to defraud a spouse. He won't walk away clean, I promise you that. What about my daughter? What about custody? Given the circumstances, you'll have an extremely strong case for primary custody, possibly sole custody, if we can establish financial abandonment and conspiracy. The emails where he says the baby isn't his problem anymore, that's evidence of his intent to abandon his parental responsibilities. No family court judge will look favorably on that. Carrie closed her eyes, drew a deep breath, let it out slowly. Do it. All of it. Every charge, every legal option. I want him to face consequences for what he did. Are you sure? This will be public, difficult, lengthy. It could take years to fully resolve. I'm sure he tried to destroy me. He tried to steal my future and my daughter's future. I won't let him get away with it. She hung up, set the phone aside, walked to her childhood closet, opened the door, sat down on the floor where she used to hide during thunderstorms. The space was smaller than she remembered. Her pregnant belly pressed against her knees. The baby shifted, uncomfortable with the confined space. But Carrie needed this, needed the darkness, needed the small, safe place where nothing could hurt her. She counted the floorboards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same floorboards she had counted as a child, during thunderstorms, during arguments between her parents that turned out to be nothing serious, during the first heartbreak at 16, during the anxiety attacks in college. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The house settled around her, old bones creaking, familiar sounds, safe sounds. Her father's footsteps passed the door, paused, continued on. Don't come in. Don't come in. He didn't. He understood. After 30 years of marriage, he understood when women needed space, needed time, needed to fall apart before they could put themselves back together. The baby kicked. Once, twice, 3 times. I know, Carrie whispered into the darkness. I know, we'll figure it out. I don't know how yet, but we'll figure it out. Together, you and me. She pulled out her phone, opened the Photos app, scrolled to her wedding album. There he was, Derek, smiling at the camera, his arm around her waist, looking at her like she was the only woman in the world. The happiest day of her life, the day she thought all her dreams had come true. She had called that smile charming, romantic, proof that she had found her person, her forever. Now she recognized it for what it really was. The same smile he used on clients, on investors, on anyone he wanted something from. The smile of a con man who had found his mark. She deleted the photos, one by one, every image, every memory, every lie. It took 20 minutes, her finger hovering over each one before pressing delete. When she was done, her thumb found Derek's contact, the heart emoji she had put next to his name 7 years ago. She deleted that too. The story broke on a Tuesday morning. Carrie woke to the sound of her phone buzzing, then buzzing again, then buzzing continuously, a stream of notifications that wouldn't stop. She grabbed it, squinted at the screen, dozens of texts, hundreds of emails. Social media mentions she had stopped counting after the first 50. Socialite attacks pregnant wife at charity gala. Video goes viral. The headline was everywhere, local news, national news, entertainment sites, gossip blogs. Everyone had picked up the story. Everyone was talking about it. Someone had uploaded the video, the whole thing. From the moment Tiffany grabbed the dress to the moment security led her away. The sound quality was perfect. Every word captured. Every gasp from the crowd audible. 2 million views in 24 hours. 5 million by the end of the day. Carrie watched it once. Saw herself from a stranger's perspective. The shock on her face. The torn dress. Her bare back exposed. The way she staggered. The way her hands went to her belly. She looked small, fragile, broken. She never watched it again. The comments were endless. Thousands of them. Millions eventually. Most were supportive. That poor woman. I hope she gets justice. The mistress deserves to rot in jail. Her husband is trash. Someone start a GoFundMe. But some were cruel. There were always cruel ones. People who couldn't resist kicking someone when they were down. She obviously drove him away. Look at her. She let herself go during the pregnancy. If she was a better wife, he wouldn't have cheated. The mistress is way hotter. Can't blame him, man. Rich people problems. Who cares? Carrie turned off her phone, set it face down on the nightstand, pulled the covers over her head like she was 5 years old again, hiding from monsters. But the monsters were real now, and hiding wouldn't make them go away. Patricia knocked on the door an hour later. "Carrie, someone's here to see you." "I don't want to see anyone. I think you'll want to see her." Carrie dragged herself out of bed, put on a robe, ran her fingers through her tangled hair, didn't bother with makeup. What was the point? In the living room, Eleanor Richmond sat on the antique sofa, 62 years old, impeccably dressed in a navy Chanel suit, pearl earrings, hair perfectly styled despite the early hour. Eleanor Richmond, the chairwoman of the Gala committee, one of the most influential women in the city, the kind of woman who could make or break careers with a single phone call. Mrs. Whitmore. Eleanor didn't stand, didn't offer her hand, just looked at Carrie with sharp, assessing eyes. "Or should I say Miss Ashford? I imagine you'll be returning to your maiden name soon enough." "Mrs. Richmond." Carrie sat in the chair across from her, conscious of her robe, her bare feet, her unwashed hair. "What can I do for you?" Eleanor reached into her designer bag. A Birkin, $20,000 if it was a penny. She pulled out a manila folder, set it on the coffee table between them. "Tiffany Lawson tried to get on the planning committee last year. Did you know that?" "No. I rejected her application. She didn't have the social standing, the connections, the background we look for in committee members. She wasn't happy about it." "I can imagine. She made threats." Eleanor's voice was calm, matter of fact, the voice of a woman who had faced down worse than Tiffany Lawson. "Subtle ones, the kind that can be denied later. She implied she had information that could damage my husband's business. Suggested she knew people who could make things difficult for us. I documented everything." Carrie opened the folder. Inside were printed emails, screenshots of text messages, dated records of every interaction between Eleanor and Tiffany. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I've known your parents for 30 years. Your father married your mother in my garden. You were the flower girl at my daughter's wedding. I watched you grow up, and that woman attacked a member of my community at an event I organized. In my ballroom, under my watch." Eleanor leaned forward, her eyes sharp, fierce. "I don't tolerate that. I don't forgive it, and I don't forget it." Carrie looked at the documents. Evidence of a pattern. Tiffany hadn't just targeted her, she had targeted others, anyone who stood between her and what she wanted. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Eleanor stood, smoothed her skirt, adjusted her pearls. "I've also spoken with several other women Tiffany crossed over the years. Business competitors, former colleagues, women whose husbands she targeted before Derek. They're willing to provide statements if needed." "There were others? Before Derek?" "At least 3 that I know of. Tiffany Lawson is a predator, Mrs. Whitmore. She targets successful men in vulnerable marriages. She inserts herself into their lives. She isolates them from their wives. And then she helps them liquidate their assets before she moves on to the next victim." The words landed like blows. Derek hadn't been Tiffany's first. Probably wouldn't have been her last. He had been a mark, a target, just like Carrie had been a mark for Derek. Con artists conning each other, and Carrie caught in the middle. Eleanor walked toward the door, paused with her hand on the handle. "One more thing. The Hartwell Hotel has agreed to provide all security footage from the night of the gala. Every camera, every angle. I made sure of it." "How?" Eleanor smiled, a cold, satisfied smile. "My husband owns the hotel." She left without ceremony. Patricia showed her out. The door clicked shut with finality. Carrie stared at the folder. More evidence, more allies she hadn't expected. The phone in the kitchen rang. Patricia answered it, her voice muffled through the wall, then louder, angry. "She doesn't want to speak to you." "No, I don't care what you have to say. Call again and I'll have you arrested for harassment." She hung up with more force than necessary, came back into the living room with a look of barely contained rage. "Nancy Whitmore," she said, "Derek's mother, wants to talk to you, wants to explain that boys will be boys, wants you to drop the charges and work on your marriage." Carrie laughed. The sound surprised her. Bitter, sharp. The laugh of a woman who had run out of tears. "Of course she does. I told her where she could put her suggestions. I'm sure you did. 2 hours later, another visitor arrived. This one unexpected. Vincent Crawford stood on the doorstep. Derek's business partner for 5 years. Thinning hair, wire-framed glasses, the kind of man who faded into the background at parties, who never made an impression, who was easily forgotten. Patricia didn't want to let him in. Raymond blocked the doorway with his body. I need to speak to Carrie, Vincent said, his voice quiet, ashamed. Please, just 5 minutes, then I'll go. Carrie appeared behind her father. Let him in. Carrie, it's okay, Dad. I want to hear what he has to say. They sat in the living room, Carrie on the couch, Vincent in the chair across from her. He couldn't meet her eyes. I didn't know about the money. The words came out in a rush, like he had been rehearsing them. The offshore accounts, the shell company, the fraud. I swear to you, Carrie, I didn't know about any of it. But you knew about Tiffany. He flinched like she had struck him. Yes. For how long? 18 months, maybe longer. He finally looked at her, his eyes red, exhausted. I saw them at a conference in Chicago. They didn't know I was in the lobby. They came out of the elevator together. Her lipstick was smeared. His shirt was untucked. They were laughing. Carrie waited. There was more. She could feel it. I confronted Derek the next day, asked him what the hell he was doing. He said it was none of my business. Said his marriage was his problem. Said if I mentioned it to anyone, he would destroy me. And you believed him. I believed he would try. Derek is, Vincent paused, searching for the right word, ruthless. When he wants something, he gets it. When someone gets in his way, he removes them. I've seen him do it to competitors, to vendors, to employees who asked too many questions. So you stayed quiet. You watched him betray me for 18 months. You came to our parties. You smiled at me. You said nothing. I told myself it wasn't my place. His voice cracked, the shame breaking through. Derek was my partner, my friend, or I thought he was. I didn't want to get involved. I thought maybe it would burn out on its own. I thought maybe you knew and had made peace with it. I made excuses. While he stole from me, while he planned to abandon me, while he destroyed everything I had. I was wrong. Vincent stood, reached into his jacket, pulled out a flash drive, set it on the coffee table. This is everything I have. Meeting schedules, hotel reservations charged to business accounts, text messages Derek forwarded to me as jokes. I didn't realize what he was doing at the time. I thought it was just guy talk, bragging, but I saved it. I saved all of it. Carrie picked up the flash drive, turned it over in her hand. Such a small thing, holding so much damage. Why are you giving me this? Because I saw the video. I saw what happened at the Gala, and I realized that my silence made me complicit. He walked toward the door, paused with his hand on the frame. It's not enough. Nothing I do will be enough to make up for what I didn't do, but it's everything I have. He left. The door closed behind him. Carrie looked at the flash drive, then at the folder from Eleanor, the evidence piling up, the truth emerging from the shadows. Derek thought he had been so careful, so clever, so protected. He had underestimated everyone, the women he had wronged, the friends he had betrayed, the family he had tried to destroy, and most of all, he had underestimated Carrie. She walked to her father's office, plugged the flash drive into his computer. Started reading. I deserve better than silence from people who knew. The thought crystallized in her mind. Clear, sharp, true. She had deserved better. From Derek, from Vincent, from everyone who had watched and said nothing, from everyone who had suspected and stayed quiet. And now, finally, they were starting to pay their debts. The counterattack came 2 weeks later. Carrie was finally starting to feel almost normal, not good, not healthy, but functioning, going through the motions of a life, eating regular meals, sleeping in stretches longer than 3 hours, working on client projects from her laptop, rebuilding. Then the tabloid article dropped. Pregnant socialite's secret breakdown. Friends say she's been unstable for years. Anonymous sources. Specific details. Information that could only have come from someone who knew her intimately. The miscarriage 3 years ago. How she had fallen apart, how she had spent weeks in bed, how she had needed medication, how she had seen a therapist twice a week for 6 months, her anxiety in college, the panic attacks she had confided to Derek, the one time she had been too afraid to leave the apartment for 3 days, the time she had cried at a client meeting, the time she had snapped at her assistant, the time she had forgotten an important deadline because she was too emotional to function. All of it laid bare, twisted, weaponized. Close friends say Caroline Whitmore has struggled with mental health issues for years. Some wonder if her attack at the gala was actually provoked by her own unstable behavior. Carrie read the article 3 times, each word a blade slicing through the careful walls she had built around herself. He was using her grief against her vulnerability. The darkest moments she had trusted him with, the secrets she had shared in the safety of their marriage, everything she had given him in love, he was using as a weapon. The comments on social media shifted. Some people believed it. Something always seemed off about her story. If she's really that unstable, who knows what she did to provoke the mistress? Mental illness runs in families. Hope she doesn't pass it on to the baby. Her husband probably left because she was too crazy to deal with. Carrie closed the laptop, set it aside, walked to the bathroom, locked the door, turned on the shower, and screamed. The water drowned out the sound. The tiles absorbed her rage. The steam surrounded her like a cocoon. She screamed until her throat was raw, until she couldn't scream anymore, until there was nothing left but silence and the sound of running water. Then she turned off the shower, dried her face, unlocked the door, went back to the living room where her mother was waiting. "I saw the article," Patricia said quietly. Everyone saw the article. It's lies, twisted half-truths designed to make you look unstable. Anyone who knows you knows better. But not everyone knows me. Carrie sat on the couch, her body heavy, exhausted. That's the point. He's not trying to convince our friends. He's trying to convince strangers, the public, the jury pool, anyone who might someday sit in judgment of him. The phone rang, an unknown number. Carrie almost didn't answer. "Ms. Ashford, this is Jessica Monroe. We worked together at Sterling Design in Manhattan about 10 years ago." Sterling Design, her first real job after college. The place where she had learned her craft. The place she had left when she moved here to be with Derek. "Jessica, I remember you. How did you get my number?" "I still have it from the old days. Listen, I'm calling because someone contacted me today." A reporter. "Asking about your time at Sterling? Asking if you had any incidents or breakdowns?" Carrie's blood went cold. "What did you tell them?" "Nothing. I told them to go to hell and hung up." But Carrie, they knew things, specific things, about the Anderson account, about why you left New York. The Anderson account, a difficult client, a project that had gone sideways through no fault of her own, politics and backstabbing, and a woman who got blamed because she was young and female and easy to sacrifice. She had resigned rather than let them fire her, had told everyone it was her choice to leave, had never spoken about the truth of what happened. "Someone's feeding them information," Carrie said. "Someone who knows your history, who was there, who knows the details." Derek. It had to be Derek. He had been her boyfriend back then. New relationship, full of promise. She had told him everything, every failure, every humiliation, every professional wound. He had comforted her, held her while she cried, promised her she was talented and brilliant, and the job didn't deserve her. And now he was turning it all into ammunition. "Thank you for warning me," Carrie said, "and thank you for not talking to them." "Of course. Whatever you need, I'm here. We all are. The Sterling girls stick together." She hung up, sat in the silence of her parents' living room, the weight of it pressing down. More calls came in that week. Friends from college who had been contacted. Former colleagues who had been asked about her mental state. Even her old therapist, who refused to talk to anyone but warned her that someone had tried. Derek was methodical, thorough. He was building a narrative. The crazy wife, the unstable woman, the person who couldn't be trusted, who probably provoked the attack, who probably deserved everything she got. Megan found her in the garden that evening, sitting on the old stone bench, staring at the roses her mother had planted decades ago. I saw the article, Megan said, and the follow-up, and the social media posts. He's really going for it, isn't he? He's fighting for his life. Carrie's voice was hollow. The criminal case, the civil case, the financial investigation. He knows if I win, he loses everything. So he's trying to destroy me first. He's telling people you're crazy, using the miscarriage, using your therapy. Megan sat beside her, close enough to touch but not touching. The things you told him in confidence, the things you trusted him with. The worst parts of me, Carrie's voice broke. I gave him my darkness, my pain, my secrets, and now he's using them to destroy me. You're not crazy, Carrie. Sometimes I feel crazy. Sometimes I wonder if he's right, if I drove him away, if I was too needy, too emotional, too much. Stop. Megan's voice was sharp, fierce. That's him in your head. That's his voice, not yours. You are the strongest person I know. You built a business from nothing. You survived a miscarriage that would have broken anyone. You're carrying a baby while your entire world falls apart. That's not weakness. That's strength. Carrie looked at her friend, her eyes burning with tears she refused to let fall. I trusted him with everything, every vulnerable moment, every fear, every insecurity, and he wrote it all down, saved it, waited for the perfect moment to use it against me. He's a monster. He's my husband, was my husband. 7 years. I slept next to that monster for 7 years, and I never knew. They sat in silence, the evening air cool against their skin, the crickets beginning their nightly chorus, the roses releasing their perfume into the gathering dark. What are you going to do? Megan asked finally. Carrie thought about the question, really thought about it. I'm going to keep going, keep fighting, keep building my case. He wants me to break. He wants me to give up. He wants me to crawl back to him and beg for mercy. Once she stood, placed her hand on her belly, felt her daughter kick. I'm not going to break, not for him, not for anyone. I'm going to survive this, and then I'm going to make him pay for every single lie he told. The sun set behind the trees, the garden went dark. The stars began to emerge. Carrie stayed outside until long after Megan had gone home, until her mother called her in for dinner, until the cold drove her indoors. But something had shifted, something had hardened. The woman who walked back into that house was not the same woman who had sat on the bench an hour before. She was someone new, someone stronger, someone who would not be destroyed. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning in early September. Carrie was 8 months pregnant now, her belly enormous, her back constantly aching. Her feet swollen to the point where only one pair of shoes still fit. Sleep came in fragments. 2 hours here, 3 hours there. Never enough. But she was there. She was always there. The courthouse was a sprawling stone building downtown, built in the 1920s, imposing columns, wide marble steps, the scales of justice carved above the entrance. Carrie had never been inside before, had never had reason to be. Her father worked in the federal building across the street. Different jurisdiction, different world. Today, she entered as a victim, as a witness, as the pregnant woman whose husband's mistress had attacked her in front of 200 people. The steps were crowded with cameras, reporters shouting questions, photographers jostling for position. The Gala video had made this a national story. Everyone wanted a piece of it. Patricia held one arm, Raymond held the other. They moved through the chaos like a battering ram, focused, determined, ignoring the questions, ignoring the cameras, ignoring everything except the doors ahead. Ms. Whitmore, how do you respond to allegations that you're mentally unstable? Ms. Ashford, is it true you provoked the attack? Caroline, do you have a message for Tiffany Lawson? Carrie said nothing, just walked, one foot in front of the other, chin up, eyes forward. Inside, the courthouse smelled like old paper and floor polish. The marble floors echoed with footsteps. The ceiling soared 3 stories high. They found the courtroom on the 2nd floor. Room 2B, a modest space by courthouse standards. Wooden benches, fluorescent lights, the state flag hanging beside the American flag. Carrie sat in the front row, behind the prosecutor's table, her parents on either side. The room filled slowly, reporters in the back, curious onlookers who wanted to see the drama in person. A few faces Carrie recognized from the gala, witnesses who had been subpoenaed. And then Tiffany arrived. She came through the side door, flanked by her lawyer and two bailiffs, wearing white. A demure dress with a high neckline and long sleeves. Her blonde hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her makeup minimal. She looked innocent, victimized. The opposite of the woman who had stood in the ballroom in her red lipstick and designer black dress, holding torn silk like a trophy. She was crying, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, clinging to her lawyer's arm, playing the victim for the cameras and the public and anyone who might believe her story over Carrie's. And standing beside her, hand on her shoulder, offering comfort, Derek. Carrie felt Patricia stiffen beside her, heard Raymond's sharp intake of breath. Derek Whitmore had come to support his mistress at the hearing for the woman who had attacked his pregnant wife, in full view of everyone. He brought her? Patricia's voice was barely controlled fury. He actually came here to support her? Carrie didn't answer. She was staring at her husband, this man she had married, this man she had loved, this man who had promised to protect her. He looked good, rested, comfortable, like a man who had finally shed a burden he never wanted to carry. Their eyes met across the courtroom. Derek smiled, a small, satisfied smile, the smile of a man who thought he was winning. Carrie felt something shift inside her, something cold and hard settling into place. He's performing, she said quietly, for the cameras, for the public, for the narrative he's building. Let him. The judge entered, Judge Martha Bennett, a woman in her early 60s, gray hair cut short, sharp eyes behind wire-frame glasses. Known for being fair, impartial, by the book. Not a friend of Raymond's, not a colleague of Patricia's, assigned randomly, exactly as it should be. Court is now in session, the bailiff announced. The matter of People versus Tiffany Lawson. Preliminary hearing to determine if sufficient evidence exists to proceed to trial. Tiffany's lawyer stood, a woman named Victoria Slade, mid-50s, gray hair, sharp suit, the kind of lawyer who charged $800 an hour and earned every penny. Your Honor, my client moves to dismiss all charges. Ms. Lawson acted in self-defense after being physically threatened by Mrs. Whitmore at the gala. The so-called assault was nothing more than a reasonable response to provocation. Carrie's stomach clenched. This was their strategy. The articles, the leaks, the narrative about her mental instability, all leading to this moment. The prosecutor, a young man named Thomas Reed, stood. Your Honor, the state has video evidence showing the defendant initiating unprovoked physical contact with the victim. The video is clear. The witnesses are consistent. There was no self-defense. There was no provocation. Judge Bennett turned to the defense. Ms. Slade, your client is claiming self-defense against a 7 months pregnant woman. Do you have any evidence that Mrs. Whitmore threatened or attacked your client first? We have evidence that Mrs. Whitmore has a history of emotional instability, that she has experienced episodes of irrational behavior, Do you have evidence that she threatened your client at the gala? A pause. Not direct evidence, Your Honor, but the court is not interested in speculation about the victim's mental health. The court is interested in facts. Do you have video evidence of Mrs. Whitmore attacking your client first? No, Your Honor. Do you have witness testimony that Mrs. Whitmore attacked your client first? No, Your Honor, but then your motion to dismiss is denied. The words hung in the air. Carrie felt some of the tension ease from her shoulders. But Tiffany's lawyer wasn't finished. Your Honor, there is one additional matter. My client is pregnant, recently confirmed. She is carrying Mr. Derek Whitmore's child. She is in a fragile state. The stress of a trial could endanger her pregnancy. We request that the court consider this when making decisions about bail and scheduling. The courtroom erupted. Whispers, gasps, the shuffle of reporters reaching for their phones. Pregnant. Tiffany was pregnant, or claiming to be. Carrie looked at Derek. He was smiling again. That satisfied smile, like this was all going according to plan. 2 babies, both his, one with his wife, one with his mistress. The thought made her want to vomit. Judge Bennett banged her gavel. Order! I will have order in this court. The room fell silent. The court notes the defense's claim regarding the defendant's pregnancy. However, the defendant is charged with assault on another pregnant woman. The irony is not lost on this court. She shuffled papers. The defendant's motion to dismiss is denied. Sufficient evidence exists to proceed to trial. Trial date is set for October 15th. The defendant is released on current bail with the condition that she have no contact with the victim or her family. Violation of this condition will result in immediate incarceration. Tiffany's face contorted, the mask of innocence cracking. This is a setup, she shouted. Her father arranged this. He's a judge. He controls the courts. The whole system is corrupt. She's the one who should be on trial. She's the crazy one. Judge Bennett's gavel cracked. Ms. Lawson, one more outburst and you will be held in contempt. This court will not tolerate disruptions. Your attorney can explain proper courtroom behavior to you. Victoria Slade grabbed Tiffany's arm, whispered something in her ear. Tiffany went silent, but her eyes burned with fury. She looked at Carrie. Pure hatred. Carrie looked back. Calm, steady, unmoved. I won this round, and I'm going to win the war. The hearing ended. People filed out. Derek left with Tiffany, his arm around her shoulders. Playing the supportive partner, Carrie walked out through the side entrance, avoiding the cameras, the questions, the chaos. In the car on the way home, she stared out the window, the city passing by, buildings and trees and people going about their lives. You did well, Patricia said. You held it together. Did I? You didn't react when he walked in, didn't react when she claimed to be pregnant, didn't give them anything they could use. I felt like screaming. But you didn't. That's what matters. That night, Carrie filled the bathtub, climbed in fully clothed, the water warm around her, her dress floating like a ghost. She stared at the ceiling, the tiles white and sterile, like a hospital room. A year ago, she had been happy, planning the nursery, choosing paint colors, imagining her daughter's first steps, her first words, her first day of school. A year ago, she had loved her husband, trusted him completely, believed they would grow old together. Who am I now? The question echoed in the empty room, bounced off the tile walls, disappeared into the steam. No answer came. She stayed in the water until it went cold, until her fingers pruned, until the baby kicked so hard it hurt. Then she drained the tub, changed into dry clothes, crawled into bed. She didn't sleep, just lay there in the darkness, listening to the house settle, listening to her own breathing, listening to the silence where her future used to be. At 3 a.m, her mother opened the door. Just a crack, just checking. Carrie pretended to be asleep, kept her breathing even, didn't move. Patricia watched her for a long moment, then closed the door. In the darkness, Carrie opened her eyes, stared at the ceiling. She couldn't explain why she was awake, couldn't explain why she felt like she was drowning, couldn't explain the emptiness that had settled into her bones. She just knew that the woman she used to be was gone, and she had no idea who she was becoming. The shift happened slowly, then all at once. 2 weeks after the preliminary hearing, Carrie woke up on a Tuesday morning and realized she was tired. Not just physically tired, not just emotionally exhausted, but tired of being the victim, tired of waiting, tired of letting Derek and Tiffany control the narrative, tired of drowning. She got out of bed, put on real clothes for the first time in days, a silk blouse that still buttoned over her enormous belly, black pants with an elastic waist, low heels that didn't hurt her swollen feet. She looked at herself in the mirror, really looked. Dark circles under her eyes, hair that needed washing, skin that hadn't seen makeup in weeks, but also something else, something in her eyes that hadn't been there before. A spark, a flicker, the first sign of life after a long, cold winter. Where are you going? Patricia asked when she came downstairs. The studio. I have work to do. Her mother opened her mouth, probably to protest, to suggest that Carrie rest, that she'd take care of herself, that she'd wait until after the baby. But something in Carrie's face stopped her. Do you want company? No, I need to do this alone. The drive took 20 minutes. Carrie's studio was in a renovated warehouse downtown. Exposed brick walls, high ceilings with industrial ductwork, large windows that flooded the space with natural light. She had found it 6 years ago, renovated it herself, built her business from this room. Rebecca was already there, her assistant, 26 years old, eager, talented, loyal. She looked up when Carrie walked in, surprise on her face, then relief, then something like joy. "I didn't know if you'd come back," she said. "Neither did I." Carrie walked through the space, touched the project boards, the fabric samples, the blueprints pinned to corkboard walls, the tools of her trade, the evidence of her talent. She had built this. Not Derek, not her father's money, not anyone else. She had started with nothing but a design degree and a dream. And now she had clients all over the city, a waiting list 3 months long, a reputation for excellence. Derek couldn't take that from her, no matter how hard he tried. "What's the status?" she asked. "On the open projects?" Rebecca grabbed a tablet, started scrolling. "The Harrison renovation is waiting on your final approval for the kitchen cabinets. The Kennedy project needs color selections for the master bedroom. 3 new inquiries came in yesterday. All of them mentioned seeing the news coverage. They want to hire the scandal woman. They want to support a woman-owned business during a difficult time. That's what they said." Rebecca paused. "There are also about 50 interview requests, morning shows, podcasts, magazines. Everyone wants your story." "My story isn't for sale." "I told them that, but they keep calling." Carrie sat at her desk, pulled up the Harrison project on her computer, looked at the cabinet options, made a decision. "Go with the white shaker style. The client thinks she wants a navy, but she'll change her mind. White is classic. She'll thank us later." "Got it. And tell the Kennedys I'll have color selections by Friday. Book the new consultations for next week. No interviews, no exceptions." "Yes, ma'am." The day passed quickly, faster than any day in the past month. Carrie lost herself in work, in decisions, in the creative process that had always been her refuge. By evening, she had cleared her inbox, scheduled her calendar, approved 3 projects, started 2 more. She was still standing in the ruins of her life, but at least now she was standing. The phone rang at 5 o'clock, an unfamiliar number. Carrie almost didn't answer. "Carrie, it's Nancy. Nancy Whitmore, please don't hang up." Derek's mother, the woman who had told her to be a better wife, who had defended her son, who had blamed Carrie for everything. "I don't have anything to say to you, Nancy. I know you hate me, you have every right, but please just listen. 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking." Carrie almost hung up. Every instinct told her to end the call, to block the number, to never speak to this woman again. But something made her hesitate. 5 minutes. "I found something." Nancy's voice was different, smaller, shakier. "The Cayman accounts. Derek told me he was borrowing money for your new house. $200,000 from my retirement fund. He said you'd pay it back after the baby came. He said it was an investment in your future." "There is no new house, Nancy." "I know that now." A sound that might have been a saw. "I went to my financial advisor last week, asked him to show me everything, and I found the transfers. All of them. My money went to an account in the Caymans, an account with Derek's name, and that woman's name, not yours, never yours." Carrie closed her eyes. Another victim, another person Derek had used and discarded. "He stole from his own mother." "Yes," Nancy's voice cracked. "He looked me in the eye. My son, my baby boy. He looked me in the eye and lied about where my money was going, my retirement, my security, everything I saved for 30 years. Gone." "I'm sorry, Nancy, I truly am, but what do you want from me?" "Nothing. I don't want anything from you. I'm not calling to apologize for what I said before. That's between me and God. I'm calling because I've hired my own lawyer, and I'm willing to testify." The words hung in the air. Derek's mother, willing to testify against her own son. "You'd do that? Turn on your own child?" "He stopped being my child the day I saw those bank statements. I don't know who Derek is anymore. Maybe I never knew, but I won't protect him. Not after what he did. To you, to me, to that baby you're carrying." A long pause, the weight of the moment settling. Thank you, Nancy. Don't thank me. Just make sure he pays. Make sure he faces consequences. Make sure my granddaughter knows that the women in her family don't tolerate men like Derek Whitmore. She hung up. Carrie stared at the phone for a long moment. Derek had been so careful, so calculating. He had played everyone, his wife, his mistress, his mother, his business partner, everyone who trusted him. But he had made one fatal mistake. He had underestimated them all. The next morning, Carrie met with Bradley. The case had grown. Financial fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to defraud a spouse. The evidence was overwhelming. Federal prosecutors are interested, Bradley said. The offshore accounts triggered automatic reporting requirements. Derek never filed the proper disclosures. That's a federal crime, separate from everything else. What kind of sentence? If convicted, 5 to 10 years, possibly more if they can prove intent to evade taxes. Carrie thought about Derek in a prison cell. Orange jumpsuit, concrete walls, no charm, no escape. What about Tiffany? She's cooperating with Derek's lawyers, trying to shift blame, claiming she was manipulated, that she didn't know about the fraud, that Derek promised her things and she believed him. Was she manipulated? Maybe, probably. Derek is good at that, but she signed the shell company documents. She had access to the accounts. She was a willing participant in the conspiracy, even if she didn't understand the full scope. Carrie nodded. What do you need from me? Nothing, just keep doing what you're doing. Build your case, document everything. Let us handle the legal strategy. And what about custody? What about my daughter? Given the fraud, the abandonment, the statements in the emails about not wanting the baby, you have an extremely strong case for sole custody. Derek might get supervised visitation. If he's lucky, if he's not in prison. Carrie stood, walked to the window, looked out at the city she had lived in for 7 years. What do I want the outcome to be, she said, more to herself than to Bradley. That's the question. What do you want, son? She thought about it, really thought about it. I want my daughter to know that her mother didn't accept being destroyed. I want to rebuild something true, something real, something that belongs to me. She turned to face him. And I want Derek and Tiffany to face real consequences. Not revenge, justice, there's a difference. Bradley smiled, the smile of a man who had found a client worth fighting for. Then that's exactly what we'll do. The call came on a Monday morning, 3 weeks before the criminal trial. Derek wanted to meet. His lawyer had reached out to Bradley. They wanted to discuss settlement options to avoid further damage to all parties. Everyone advised against it. Raymond said it was a trap. Patricia said Derek couldn't be trusted. Megan said there was nothing he could say that would make any difference. But Carrie needed to see him one more time, needed to look in his eyes, needed to understand if any of it had ever been real, if he had ever truly loved her, if their entire marriage had been a lie from the beginning. She needed closure, and she wasn't going to get it in a courtroom. They met at a restaurant downtown, a neutral location, public space populated enough that there would be witnesses, private enough that they could talk. Bradley sat beside her. Derek came alone. His lawyer stayed in the car. He looked different than she remembered, smaller somehow. The charm drained away, the easy confidence replaced by something harder. Desperate, he had lost weight. His suit hung loose on his frame. His hair had grown out, showing gray at the temples she had never noticed before. Dark circles under his eyes suggested he hadn't been sleeping any better than she had. Thank you for agreeing to meet, he said, his voice hoarse, strained. I wasn't sure you would. What do you want, Derek? He leaned forward, clasped his hands on the table. The wedding ring was gone from his finger. She noticed that first. I want to explain. I want you to understand. Understand what? That you stole from me? That you planned to abandon me and our daughter? That you let your mistress assault me in front of 200 people? Which part do you think I don't understand? I never meant for any of this to happen. His eyes met hers, searching for something. Sympathy maybe, forgiveness. Things got out of control. Tiffany was supposed to be temporary, a distraction. I never intended for it to go this far. You planned it for 18 months, Derek. You created shell companies. You drained our accounts. You wrote emails about your exit strategy. That's not out of control. That's premeditated. The money was supposed to be a safety net. His voice rose slightly, defensive. In case things didn't work out, in case the market crashed, in case I needed options. Options for what? For freedom. The word came out sharp, bitter. You don't understand what it was like. Being married to you, the expectations, the obligations, your family always watching, always judging. I felt trapped, like I was living someone else's life. So you stole from me, lied to me, planned to disappear with my money and another woman. Our money, I earned that money too. You earned it while I supported you, while I sacrificed my career, while I made our home and hosted your clients and built the life you said you wanted. Her voice was steady, calm, the anger cold rather than hot. I gave up New York for you, Derek. I gave up my dreams because you said you needed me here. And it was all a lie. Derek's jaw tightened, the charming mask finally falling away completely. You think you're so innocent, so perfect? You smothered me, Carrie. Every decision needed your approval. Every plan needed your input. I couldn't breathe without you asking if I was breathing correctly. I was being a partner, a wife. I was trying to build a life with you. You were trying to control me, just like your father controls your mother, just like your family controls everything. I was suffocating. Carrie looked at him, really looked at him. This man she had married, this man she had loved, this man she had thought she knew. She saw him clearly now, the entitlement, the narcissism, the complete inability to take responsibility for his own choices. Everything was someone else's fault, her family's fault, the universe conspiring against him. He was a child, a selfish, spoiled child who had never grown up. You're right, she said quietly. I didn't understand, but I do now. She reached into her bag, pulled out a folder, set it on the table. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign over your interest in the house. You're going to return every dollar to the joint accounts. You're going to relinquish primary custody of our daughter. You'll have supervised visitation. Once a week, 2 hours. Derek laughed, the sound hollow and harsh. You're delusional. You think I'm going to give up everything? My house, my money, my child? No court is going to order all of that. Vincent's records. She slid the first paper across the table. Every meeting, every hotel room, every text message you shared with your business partner about your affair. His face paled. Your mother's testimony. Another paper. She's willing to take the stand and describe how you stole $200,000 from her retirement fund. He flinched. The forensic accountant's report. A third paper. Every transaction, every shell company, every dollar you moved, traced and documented. Silence. Federal prosecutors are interested, Derek. Wire fraud, bank fraud, tax evasion. We're not just talking about divorce court anymore. We're talking about prison. Real prison. Federal prison. He stared at the papers, his hands trembling slightly. You've been busy. I've been surviving. That's what you do when someone tries to destroy you. You fight back. Derek picked up the papers. Read them, his face getting paler with each page. If I don't sign, then we go to trial. Everything becomes public. The affair, the fraud, the conspiracy, the emails where you said our daughter wasn't your problem. All of it. Every newspaper in the country will run the story. Your name will become synonymous with betrayal. You'll never work again. Never rebuild. Never escape what you did. You destroy me. You destroyed yourself, Derek, the day you decided to steal from your wife and abandon your child. I'm just making sure there are consequences. He sat in silence for a long moment. The restaurant hummed around them, other people having lunch, normal conversations, normal lives. Finally, he picked up a pen. I want visitation, he said. Real visitation, not supervised forever. Supervised for the first year. Then we can revisit. If you've demonstrated that you can be a responsible parent. He signed every page, every line, his signature shaky but legible. When he was done, Carrie collected the documents, put them back in the folder. "One more thing," she said. "Don't come to the birth. Don't call the hospital. Don't try to see her until I say it's time. I'll contact you when I'm ready for you to meet your daughter. She's my daughter, too." "She's my daughter. You gave up any right to claim her when you wrote those emails, when you planned to disappear, when you decided she wasn't your problem." Carrie stood. "Now you can be part of her life on my terms, or not at all. Your choice." She walked toward the door, didn't look back. In the parking lot, she sat in her car for a long time. Not crying, not celebrating, just breathing. The weight she had carried for months was lifting. Not gone, but lighter, manageable. She had done it. She had faced him. She had won. And for the first time since the gala, she felt something that might have been hope. The trial began on a Wednesday morning in late October, 2 weeks before Carrie's due date. She was enormous now, the baby dropping lower every day, her body preparing for what was coming. Braxton Hicks contractions that woke her at night, a constant pressure that made every position uncomfortable. But she was there, every day, in the front row, watching justice unfold. The prosecutor was good, Thomas Reed, young but skilled. He presented the case methodically, piece by piece. The video from the gala, the witness statements, the medical records showing Carrie's elevated stress hormones and the risk to her pregnancy. 200 people had watched Tiffany Lawson grab a pregnant woman's dress and tear it off her back. There was no ambiguity, no room for reasonable doubt. Tiffany's defense tried everything. First, they claimed self-defense, said Carrie had threatened her, said she had been afraid for her safety. The video showed otherwise. Carrie standing calmly by the auction table, Tiffany approaching from behind. No words exchanged, no provocation. Then they claimed temporary insanity, hormonal imbalance from pregnancy, a moment of passion she couldn't control. The prosecutor pointed out that Tiffany had attended the gala uninvited, had positioned herself near Carrie, had waited for the perfect moment when Derek was away. The attack was premeditated, planned, deliberate. Finally, they tried sympathy. Tiffany was pregnant, vulnerable. She had been manipulated by Derek Whitmore. She was a victim too. The prosecution called witness after witness. Eleanor Richmond described Tiffany's threats. Former colleagues described her pattern of targeting married men, the other women she had destroyed before she found Derek. Pattern of behavior, predatory conduct. A woman who used her sexuality as a weapon and destroyed anyone who got in her way. The jury deliberated for 2 hours and 43 minutes. Carrie sat in the hallway during the wait, her mother on one side, her father on the other, Megan pacing back and forth, Bradley checking his phone every 30 seconds. "What if they don't convict?" Megan asked for the 10th time. "They will." Raymond's voice was certain, calm, the confidence of 30 years on the bench. "The evidence is overwhelming. The defense had nothing." "But juries are unpredictable. Remember they will convict." The door opened. The bailiff called them back. The courtroom was packed, every seat filled. Reporters in the back with their notebooks and phones. Spectators who had lined up at dawn for a chance to witness the verdict. Tiffany stood beside her lawyer, her face pale, her hands shaking. All the confidence gone now, all the bravado stripped away. She looked small, scared, almost pitiful. Almost. The jury foreman stood, an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. He held a piece of paper in his weathered hands. "On the charge of assault in the 2nd degree, how does the jury find?" "We, the jury, find the defendant guilty." A gasp swept through the courtroom. Tiffany swayed on her feet. "On the charge of intentional infliction of emotional distress, how does the jury find?" "We, the jury, find the defendant guilty." Someone in the gallery started crying, not Carrie. She sat perfectly still, absorbing the words. "On the charge of reckless endangerment of a pregnant person, how does the jury find?" "We, the jury, find the defendant guilty." Guilty on all counts. The judge thanked the jury, set a date for sentencing, remanded Tiffany into custody pending the hearing. As the bailiffs led her away, Tiffany turned, looked at Carrie one last time. "He said he loved me." Her voice was raw, broken. He said we would be together forever. He promised. Carrie met her gaze, steady, unflinching. He lied to you too. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't sympathy, but it was acknowledgement. They had both been victims of the same man. They had both believed his promises. They had both been destroyed by his lies. The difference was that Carrie was rebuilding, and Tiffany was going to prison. The sentencing hearing came 3 weeks later. Carrie was 9 months pregnant now. Any day, any hour, the baby could come, but she was there. Because this mattered. Because she needed to see it through to the end. Judge Martha Bennett presided. The same judge who had handled the preliminary hearing. Fair, impartial, by the book. Ms. Lawson, yo I am, her voice filled the courtroom. You have been found guilty by a jury of your peers of assault, emotional distress, and reckless endangerment. Before I pass sentence, do you have anything to say? Tiffany stood, her prison jumpsuit orange against her pale skin, her hair unwashed, her makeup gone. I'm sorry. Her voice was barely audible. I'm sorry for what I did. I was manipulated. I was lied to. I made terrible choices because I believed a man who told me what I wanted to hear. Judge Bennett waited. There was more. I'm pregnant. Tiffany's hand went to her belly. My child will be born in prison. I'll miss the first months of my baby's life. That's my punishment. A punishment I deserve, but I want Mrs. Whitmore to know that I understand now. I understand what I took from her. And I'm sorry. Carrie listened, evaluated, considered. It might have been genuine, or it might have been another performance. With Tiffany, it was impossible to know. Judge Bennett nodded. The court notes your statement. However, remorse expressed after conviction carries less weight than remorse expressed before trial. Your actions at the gala were deliberate, public, and cruel. You showed no consideration for your victim's pregnancy. You showed no concern for the child she was carrying. You attempted to destroy her reputation to escape consequences. She shuffled papers. The courtroom held its breath. This court sentences you to 24 months in state prison. Following your release, you will serve 3 years of supervised probation. You are further ordered to have no contact with the victim or her family for a period of 10 years. You will complete an anger management program and a victim impact course. Violation of any condition will result in immediate return to custody. 24 months, 2 years. Tiffany's face crumpled. Her lawyer reached for her arm. The bailiffs moved forward. This isn't fair. But the words were hollow now, empty, the fight finally gone. I didn't deserve this. You earned this, Ms. Lawson. Judge Bennett's voice was ice. Every consequence you face is a direct result of your own choices. Take responsibility, learn from it, or serve every day of your sentence and learn nothing. The choice is yours. They led her away. The door closed behind her. Outside the courthouse, Carrie faced the cameras one final time. I didn't ask for any of this. Her voice was steady, clear, strong. I was a woman attending a charity event, excited about becoming a mother, planning for the future. What happened to me could happen to anyone who trusts the wrong people. She paused. Let the words settle. I hope this verdict reminds everyone that assault has consequences, that pregnant women deserve protection, not humiliation, and that no matter how powerful someone thinks they are, the law applies to everyone equally. She started to walk away. A reporter shouted a question. Mrs. Whitmore, what's next for you? What are you going to do now? Carrie turned, looked at the cameras, the reporters, the crowd of strangers who had followed her story. I'm going to have a baby, she said, and then I'm going to build the best life I can for her. That's all any of us can do. She walked away, her mother and father flanking her, Megan waiting by the car. The cameras flashed. The questions continued. She didn't look back. Labor started at 2:17 in the morning, 3 days after the verdict. Carrie woke to a sharp pain, different from the Braxton Hicks contractions she had been having for weeks, more focused, more intense. A wave that started in her lower back and rolled around to her belly. She lay still for a moment, waiting, wondering if it would pass. Another wave, Stronger this time, unmistakable. She reached for her phone, called her mother. Patricia answered on the first ring. "It's time," Carrie said. "We're on our way." The hospital was 15 minutes from her parents' house. But at 2 in the morning with empty streets, they made it in 10. Dr. Susan Harper met them at the entrance. Calm, professional, exactly the kind of presence Carrie needed. "Let's see how far along you are," she said. 4 centimeters, active labor, no turning back now. They settled Carrie into a delivery room. Monitors on her belly, IV in her arm, the steady beep of her daughter's heartbeat filling the room. The contractions came faster, closer together, each one stronger than the last. Patricia stayed by her side, held her hand through every peak, wiped her forehead with a cool cloth, whispered encouragement when words were all she had to give. "You're doing amazing. You're so strong. She's almost here." Megan arrived around 6. Coffee for Patricia, ice chips for Carrie, a stuffed elephant with a pink bow for the baby. "I'm not missing this," she said, "not for anything in the world." Raymond waited in the hallway, pacing, making phone calls to cancel his schedule, texting updates to relatives who lived too far away to be there in person. The hours blurred together, pain and pressure, and moments of terrifying intensity. Carrie had planned for natural childbirth, had taken the classes, practiced the breathing, visualized her happy place. None of it prepared her for this. At noon, Dr. Harper checked again. 8 centimeters. "You're doing great. Not much longer now." Not much longer. Hours that felt like days, days that felt like years. At 2:45, the pressure changed, different, deeper. The urge to push overwhelming. "She's ready." "Give me a push on the next contraction." Carrie pushed, with everything she had, every muscle, every breath, every ounce of strength she didn't know she possessed. "I can see her head. She has hair, dark hair. Keep pushing." Another contraction, another push. The ring of fire they had warned her about. Pain beyond anything she had ever experienced. And then, a cry, high and thin and absolutely perfect. "She's here." Dr. Harper's voice was thick with emotion. Even after hundreds of deliveries, the miracle never got old. "She's beautiful." They placed the baby on Carrie's chest, warm and wet and wriggling, tiny fingers grasping at air, eyes squeezed shut against the bright lights, a rosebud mouth searching for comfort. 8 pounds, 4 ounces, 21 inches long. Perfect in every possible way. Carrie looked at her daughter, this person she had grown inside her body, this life she had protected through everything, through betrayal, through humiliation, through fear and anger and despair. Her daughter was here, safe, alive, hers. "Hi, baby," she whispered. "I've been waiting so long to meet you." The baby opened her eyes, gray, like Carrie's, like her grandmother's, looking up at her mother with complete trust, complete love. "What's her name?" the nurse asked. Carrie had considered dozens of options, traditional names, modern names, names with meaning, names with history, but looking at her daughter's face, only one felt right. Hope. Her name is Hope. Patricia burst into tears, happy tears, the kind of tears that come when something beautiful happens after something terrible, when light finally breaks through the darkness. "That's perfect," she whispered. "Absolutely perfect." The first days were a blur. Feedings every 2 hours, diaper changes at 3 in the morning, sleep in fragments that never felt like enough. Carrie had moved into her new apartment the week before the birth. 1 bedroom, a tiny nursery, a kitchen barely big enough for one person. But it was hers. Every square foot, every imperfect corner. Patricia came by every day with casseroles and advice and arms that were always ready to hold the baby so Carrie could shower. Raymond brought toys Hope was months away from playing with and sat in the rocking chair making faces at his granddaughter. Megan appeared with bottles of champagne Carrie couldn't drink while nursing and gossip from their old circles that Carrie didn't care about anymore. 3 weeks after the birth, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. Carrie opened it to find Nancy Whitmore on her doorstep, holding a gift bag, looking older than she had just months before. The lawsuit and the scandal and the loss of her son had taken their toll. "I wanted to meet her," Nancy said. "If that's okay, I know I have no right to ask, after everything, after what I said, but she's my granddaughter, and I hoped. She trailed off, uncertain, vulnerable in a way Carrie had never seen her. You testified against your son. Yes. He might go to prison because of your testimony. Yes, Nancy's voice cracked. He should go to prison for what he did to you, to me, to everyone who trusted him. I raised a monster, Carrie. I don't know how. I don't know when it happened. But I did, and I can't protect him anymore. Carrie looked at this woman, her former mother-in-law, the woman who had blamed her for Derek's betrayal, who had told her to be a better wife. She saw her differently now, a mother who had lost her child, not to death, but to something worse, to the darkness inside him, to the man he had chosen to become. She's your granddaughter, Carrie said finally. That doesn't change. Nancy's face crumpled, relief and grief and gratitude mixing together. Thank you. Carrie stepped back, opened the door wider. Would you like to meet her? 6 months passed, then 9, then a year. Derek was convicted on federal charges. Wire fraud, bank fraud, tax evasion. 7 years in federal prison. He would miss Hope's entire childhood, her first steps, her first words, her first day of school. Carrie felt nothing when she heard the verdict. No joy, no satisfaction, just the quiet knowledge that consequences had finally come. Tiffany served 18 months, was released early for good behavior, moved to another state, started over somewhere no one knew her name. Her baby was born in prison, a boy. She lost custody within a year. Carrie didn't follow what happened after that, didn't want to know. That chapter was closed. Her business tripled in the year after the gala. Every magazine wanted to feature her. Every talk show wanted to interview her. The woman who survived, the woman who rebuilt, the woman who refused to be destroyed. She accepted some interviews, declined others, told her story on her own terms, used the platform to advocate for victims of financial abuse, for pregnant women who faced violence, for anyone who had been betrayed by someone they trusted. On Hope's first birthday, Carrie threw a small party, just family, just the people who mattered. Her parents came. Megan brought a cake she had baked herself. Nancy arrived with a gift-wrapped box containing the baby blanket she had started making years ago before everything fell apart. They gathered in Carrie's small apartment, balloons on the walls, a banner that said, "Happy Birthday, Hope," a smash cake covered in pink frosting that Hope immediately destroyed with her tiny fists. Carrie watched her daughter, this perfect little person who had grown so much in a year, who could stand now, could take wobbly steps, could say mama and nana and no with increasing conviction. She thought about everything that had led to this moment, the betrayal, the assault, the trial, the rebuilding. A year ago, she had been broken, shattered, uncertain if she would survive. Now she was standing in her own apartment, surrounded by people who loved her, watching her daughter celebrate being alive. You okay? Megan asked, appearing at her elbow. Yeah, Carrie smiled. I really am. You look different, happy. I am happy. I didn't think I would be again, but I am. You deserve it, after everything. Carrie watched Hope smash her fist into the cake, frosting flying everywhere, laughing with pure joy. She's perfect, she said. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. Even though, Carrie nodded, Derek gave me one good thing, the only good thing he ever gave anyone. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure she knows how loved she is. That night, after everyone had gone home and Hope was asleep in her crib, Carrie sat by the window, looking out at the city lights, thinking about the woman she used to be, the woman she had become. She wasn't the same person who had walked into that gala 2 years ago. The woman in the emerald dress, the woman who trusted her husband, the woman who believed in happy endings. That woman was gone. But maybe that wasn't a tragedy. Maybe it was evolution. Maybe it was becoming who she was always meant to be. The prison door had been unlocked all along. She had been her own warden, keeping herself trapped in a marriage built on lies, accepting treatment she never deserved, believing she couldn't survive on her own. Not anymore. She walked to Hope's room, stood over the crib, watched her daughter sleep, the gentle rise and fall of her chest, the flutter of her eyelids as she dreamed. Your mom survived something terrible, as she whispered, and then she built something beautiful. Remember that when life gets hard, you come from a woman who didn't break. Hope stirred, made a soft sound, settled back into sleep. Carrie smiled, leaned down, pressed a kiss to her daughter's forehead. I love you, she whispered, more than anything in the world. And I will spend every day of my life making sure you know that. Outside, the city hummed with life, cars and lights and people going about their business. A world that had kept spinning through everything. And Caroline Ashford stood at her window, her daughter sleeping peacefully behind her. Her future spread out before her. Not the life she had planned, not the future she had imagined. Something better, something real, something entirely her own. And that's how Caroline Ashford rebuilt her life from the ashes of betrayal. If this story moved you, if you felt her pain and cheered for her victory, I need your help to share it with others. Hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss another story like this one. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you would have done in Carrie's shoes. Would you have forgiven Derek? Would you have shown mercy to Tiffany? I read every single comment. Your words inspire the next story. If you know someone who needs to hear that they can survive anything, share this video with them. One like, one share, one comment. That's all it takes to help this channel grow. Thank you for staying until the end. I'll see you in the next story.